Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million hellions and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. This will come as a surprise to absolutely no one except for Disney and maybe some of the disingenuous people in the access media. Captain America: Brave New World, as I lovingly call Captain African American, is a flop. From Variety, box office, Captain America: Brave New World suffers 68% drop in second weekend. Ouch. And I was waiting for these numbers to be official so we can discuss the bigger picture here and ask the obvious question: why does Disney, Marvel, and their willing and able comrades in the access media feel the need to lie to us so much? Believe me, we'll get to that. But first, let's hear what Variety has to say. Captain America: Brave New World is losing momentum at the box office. Did it really ever have any? Even during a muted winter weekend with hardly any competition. After a strong $100 million start, not really that strong, another thing we'll get to, over the extended President's Day holiday frame, and we need to wait right there. As my good friend Az from Heel vs. Babyface pointed out, this was actually a 5-day weekend. The preview night has now stretched into 2 o'clock shows. That's a full day, and I'm looking forward to the first 7-day weekend. Disney Marvel's Captain America: Brave New World crumbed by 68% in its second weekend with $28.3 million from 4,105 North American theaters. The Anthony Mackie-led, which might be part of your problem, superhero adventure, which remained in first place on box office charts. Oh, great. It's the tallest midget for the second week in a row, has generated $141 million domestically and $289.4 worldwide to date. Now here comes the bullshit. Captain America cost north of $180 million before marketing. Okay, to be fair, it's not total bullshit because $350 million is north of $180 million, making the production budget slightly less expensive than other Marvel tentpoles. So you're trying to tell me that a movie that you essentially shot twice is the cheapest one you've made in the last couple of years? Bullshit. Variety says it's not that uncommon for comic book tentpoles on the scale of, and I'm glad they put Captain America in quotes because that best describes the movie, to significantly slide in subsequent weekends. Yet this film, saddled with negative reviews and poor word of mouth, fell on the steeper side with a drop closer to 2023's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. As a matter of fact, it's the third biggest drop in the history of the MCU, coming just behind the Marvels and Ant-Man Quantumania. A film Captain America is still trending well behind. This is the new normal for Marvel movies, says obvious bigot and senior ComScore analyst Paul Degarabedian.
Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
There's still no denying these movies have appeal, and Captain America: Brave New World will likely three-peat at the box office, but a second weekend drop of 68% reflects less audience enthusiasm than you'd expect from Marvel.
Obviously.
Should Captain America follow suit with Quantumania rather than Guardians Volume 3, it'll be concerning for Disney, whose once impenetrable MCU has shown concerning signs of wear and tear in the post-Endgame era. It's also a potential problem for movie theater owners because there's nothing resembling a 4-quadrant blockbuster on the calendar until Disney's Snow White remake on March 21st. Now keep in mind, this comes from the same access media rag that said box office Eternals soaring to $69.5 million opening weekend. This brings us to the Captain America portion of this video because the mental gymnastics from the access media have quite frankly been impressive. Games Radar reported despite one of the MCU's lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores, Captain America: Brave New World has a massive opening weekend, already making back its reported production budget. Captain America 4 is soaring at the box office. This one's my personal favorite from Screen Rant. Captain America: Brave New World's box office officially passes the MCU's biggest bomb's entire gross in just 1 week. What? Hey, it's good to have a positive outlook on life. You're still a flop, but not the biggest flop. Marvel's Captain America: Brave New World escapes the MCU's power bottom spot at the box office, leaving the Marvel's total worldwide gross in the dust. And let's not forget, after the first weekend, every access media outlet soared to say the same thing. Captain America: Brave New World soars past expectations with $100 million debut. Captain America: Brave New World soars to $100 million opening. Captain America: Brave New World soars to #1 at the box office. Captain America: Brave New World soars toward a $100 million holiday weekend.
Is there a fucking echo?
echo in here.
Credit where credit is due, they decided to change it up a little bit. Captain America Brave New World surges to $100 million opening weekend. Captain America Brave New World flies high towards $100 million bow. Now, if you're keeping score at home, according to the incredibly accurate and reliable Access Media, Cap 4 has soared, surged, and flew past expectations to a box office total that's running behind its closest competition, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which came out at the same time 2 years ago and is widely considered a flop. And I can hear you now. This can't be a flop because according to Culture Crave, who said according to Deadline, who said according to Disney, this film only cost $180 million.
Yeah, that's just many.
So big.
Yeah.
With a break even of $425 million, making it the cheapest Marvel movie made since before the Endgame days.
Right.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to do some math and go into the realm of fantasy a little bit. Let's just assume that $425 million break even for Cap 4 is true. Let's also assume the $180 million budget is true, which it isn't, but let's roll with it. And we're gonna go with the kindest estimates here. That $180 million budget does not include marketing, which on a normal movie, which this isn't, you normally add 50% of the budget, which is $90 million, bringing the budget up to $270 million, which it isn't. Of that $425 million break-even number, we'll put $225 million to domestic and $200 million to international. Disney gets to keep 60% of that $225 million total, equaling $135 million. Disney gets to keep between 20 and 40% of international ticket sales, so we'll split the difference and say 30% of that $200 million is $60 million. If for when Disney earns $425 million at the box office with Captain Anti-America, it would take home $195 million. Subtract that from the $270 million budget, and you have a loss of $75 million. But you and I both know that Cap 4, a film that was essentially shot twice, did not cost $180 million. I was told from people within Marvel that's what the reshoots cost, and that's probably really close to the price of the marketing. But apparently a lot of people who cover entertainment seem to think that theaters play movies for free. And this has to be said once again, Disney Marvel has been caught lying in the past. With Doctor Strange Mom, it had a reported $200 million budget when in truth it was a $414 million budget. And if they lie about this, what else are they lying about? My guess is absolutely everything they can lie about, but ultimately they're lying to themselves and their investors. But you can only bullshit people for so long, and now Disney's willing and able comrades in the Access Media are wavering. From Variety, Captain America sequel anything but brave new era for aging Marvel IP. As much as some would like to think Deadpool and Wolverine, which did as well as Black Panther, was a return to form, Brave New World is far more representative of where the MCU stands currently. And we even heard from the creator of the Metal Gear franchise, Hideo Kojima, who I obviously know because I'm a master gamer, who spoke for essentially every normie. I watched Captain America Brave New World in IMAX, and I vaguely remember Sam receiving the shield in Endgame, but when did he officially become Cap? Is it because I haven't seen the Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Yep. And what's this about the Avengers being reorganized? I'm also getting mixed up with the Thunderbolts trailer. And as far as the Thunderbolts is concerned, people who pay attention to this stuff are going to struggle to remember Ghost, the misunderstood villain from Wasp and Ant-Man. Well, you're not alone on that one, Hideo, but there's also co-creator of Deadpool and Cable and co-founder of Image, Rob Liefeld, who recently completely cut ties with Marvel due to what he says being dissed by Kevin Feige. And Liefeld has been all over him since then, including being all over this box office, and now he's asking for Kevin Feige to step down. Get Feige off the mound, he's spent, but he doesn't stop there. But that was just a post on X Twitter. He elaborates a little more on his podcast.
And I'm telling you right now, from where I stand, Feige no longer has the fastball. He does not have the fastball. It has left him. He doesn't have it.
Now, in a podcast that Rob admits is filled with sports analogies, he isn't wrong. And yes, he does have an axe to grind. He broke up with Kevin Feige over not being invited to a premiere party, and I don't care because you know what he sounds like here? What he is. A fan.
Kevin Feige. He has, in this last realm, since Endgame, we have been led to the disappointments and the lesser box office of, off the top of my head, of Black Widow, of Ant-Man, Quantumania, which was seen as a giant step backwards. We have seen the Marvels, an even further step backwards. We have seen Thor 4, I'm just going to call it Thor 4, the one with Christian Bale in it.
Female Thor.
A further step backwards. Every time a new Marvel film is going to be released, everyone rallies and says, oh my gosh, this is it. We're going to be back. We're going to be all the way back, and then it's less than the time before.
He's simply stating the obvious that the Access Media in Hollywood and anybody at Disney refuses to acknowledge. We seem to go through the same song and dance, particularly with films from Marvel Phase 4 and 5, every time one comes out, with some rare exceptions that can be easily explained, and we'll get to that.
Captain America 4 is getting a worse grade than Eternals, than Ant-Man Wasp, and Marvels. So I then return to are we around the mound? If we aren't gathered around the mound trying to convince Kevin to change it up, then what are we doing? Why are we not asking him to retire?
Boom. And listen, I know a lot of people are thinking it, including yours truly, but when the co-creator of Deadpool says this out loud,
well, then everyone loses their minds.
If you're going to take, again, all the bows for all the successes, you got to take on all the misfires. What has happened since Endgame that everything has been so wildly misdirected?
I mean, aside from killing off your two biggest characters, Iron Man and Captain America, not recasting Black Panther, Doctor Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme because we wouldn't want to give that to a white guy, Thor's an idiot, and you turned Hulk into Mark Ruffalo, and botching up characters like She-Hulk and Moon Knight, race and gender swapping large swaths of characters that would have been a tough sell even if they were adapted correctly, casting creatives based on their identity rather than based on their talent, and spamming content. I could go on, but I won't. But he's not wrong. Kevin Feige had a lot of help building the MCU, and he likes to take full credit for it. What he doesn't take full credit for are the failures. Then Rob gets into what he knows about Captain Falcon America, and just in case you forgot, Disney said this film cost $180 million.
Captain America 4 has 5 writers on it, and there were all sorts of, especially in my realm out here in Southern California, there were news of reshoots and edits and reshoots and edits, and then we went to CinemaCon. Kevin assured us we have returned to the type of storytelling that we produced with Winter Soldier, one of our most proudest achievements. He kept drawing direct comparisons to Winter Soldier, Winter Soldier, Winter Soldier.
I unfortunately went to the corporate critic-filled, overpriced, and incredibly boring CinemaCon last year and heard the same thing.
And again, they showed the sizzle reel. They talked it up. They were so excited to share it. That was in April. In June, they started 1 month, 22 days of reshoots. So wait, I thought we were getting a finished product. I thought we were being promoted this finished product. But what happened is they went and then they tested that. The version that was being shown to us, that was being promoted to us at CinemaCon, is now getting terrible scores, which necessitate a complete removal of sequences. Entire characters are missing from the movie. Storylines were removed. 22 days is a lot of reshoots. That's just not a week. Most movies get 5 days. That's what I was privy to. After boasting of this great movie, they have retooled it because they were screening it and people didn't like it. The test screenings were laughing at Harrison Ford turning into the Hulk. But the actual act of him becoming the Hulk to unknown audiences, they were like, what? They were laughing.
Well, give it up to them for having a pretty accurate test screening, considering there was a lot of unintentional laughter in the theater as well.
These people behind the scenes, they sweat out this stuff. They do. They sweat it out big time. It is a lot of pressure to deliver. And what we're looking at since 2019 is a lot of disappointment. We're not talking about a win streak with Marvel Comics right now. We are talking about a disappointment streak. I don't know what you're doing with the X-Men. Quite frankly, I got to be honest, everything I hear scares the shit out of me. Do you not trust Marvel anymore? Because I don't.
Axe to grind or not, Rob Liefeld sounds and feels like a growing majority of fans, but he ain't done.
Don't even get me started on Disney Plus. I don't watch those shows. I had to turn off She-Hulk. I turned off Moon. I didn't finish these series. I didn't even watch Loki season 2. I did not watch Agatha all along. I've had enough of being disappointed. You know, at the end of the day, if we're just calling balls and strikes, there's just way too many strikes.
You'll have to forgive me because now it's my turn to make some sports analogies. To be fair to Kevin Feige, he has made adjustments. Daredevil's just around the corner, and it looks pretty good. Sure, it only took 6 years, but that's not a halftime adjustment. That's making one in the middle of the fourth quarter. Bringing back the Russos and RDJ is a great move and a desperate one. It's the equivalent of hiring a 72-year-old coach with a few rings and a 40-year-old quarterback to potentially get you a couple more rings, who's going to wipe out your salary cap and send you into rebuilding mode within a couple of years. And this is all under a general manager who is Kevin Feige in this analogy, who has gone 3-9 over the last 2 phases. Simply put, Marvel under Kevin Feige went from innovative to reactionary, and now they're in a full-blown identity crisis. And it's a shame the long overdue cultural shift couldn't come fast enough to save the things we love from being sacrificed on the altar of the message. Doctor Who is finally on the verge of cancellation again. Kurtzman Trek is a pop culture STD that you can't get rid of. And for the 5th consecutive year, Kathleen Kennedy is rumored to be leaving Lucasfilm, which who knows, considering Kevin Feige's franchise is hurling in their direction, that might be a job opportunity for him. And yes, all of these franchises at some point can be saved, But it's not that Hollywood can't do it, it's because they won't. And this brings up the dreaded superhero fatigue. And no, not the Access Media's version where there's just too many superhero movies, the real version where there's too many bad superhero movies. And while Kevin Feige's Disney Marvel is a major contributor, it's not all of their fault. Sony and DC have been spamming out their share of flops too. But the thing is, the normies don't know the difference. And it looks like with Superman and the Fantastic Four, it will be this July when the future of the superhero film is decided. While fully acknowledging that the Avengers movies directed by the Russos featuring RDJ and every cameo you can think of will make all of the money and not fix the problem, just like Deadpool and Wolverine and Spider-Man No Way Home. It's a gimmick. That will work, but it's a tale as old as pop culture. The fans care more about an intellectual property's legacy than the corporation who's just trying to get to the next quarter. So as yet another Marvel film flops and we get to start this cycle up again with the Thunderbolts, I have some advice for Kevin Feige while there is still a little bit of gas in the tank. Hire people based on talent, go back to adapting comic books accurately, and if you work as hard on those movies as you work on covering up bad ones, we might get a good movie. Marvel used to be known as the House of Ideas. Now Disney Marvel is the house out of ideas.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.